Hey guys, it's me, Lance, and today I'm going to talk about teachers. It's a really big, topic for me because I'm still in school. I'm a senior. Um, but teachers, they have the potential to be great things for, especially for students. Just the school in general. But they also have the potential to be, bad, depending on what kind of person they are, whether they like their job or just certain other things. And I've had good teachers in my, time. Um, I've been to pre-K, uh, elementary school or primary school, I guess, if you live in other countries, secondary school, middle school, um, junior high, and then senior high is what I'm in right now. So, and so I've had, a lot of good teachers in my time, but I've also had some bad teachers. I wouldn't say I'd have more bad teachers than good, but I for sure had some bad teachers. Um, but this year I'm really lucky to have really great teachers, which I'm really, thankful for, really proud of. Um, and especially my English teacher, I'm taking English literature AP, and my teacher and I were just kind of on the same wavelength, mindset, like I don't know, level. We just kind of agree on a lot of things, which is great. Um, we both really, into books. We both have just, I guess, just similar values, and we want similar things, I guess. Out of psychology, philosophy, we just agree on a lot of things. Um, but I also have, I've also had other teachers where you just really just don't agree with them, and which is okay sometimes, but sometimes it kind of gets in the way of things, you know. Um, and so what's happened before is that I've had maybe a teacher who's just not as, mm, just not as nice. Um, I remember one teacher that I had a few years back in math. I don't remember exactly which, but um, she was just she was just plain rude. She really was plain mean. I remember a word I gave her, mercurial, if you know what that word is. She would I don't think she had like any like psychological disease or anything, but there was some points where she'd be really nice, really happy, laughing, smiling um, while she was teaching, and then maybe a few seconds later she'd be like screaming and yelling. And this I wouldn't say I wouldn't give her that word except for this happened a lot of the days of the year. It wasn't just one day. It wasn't a one-time thing. It was like kind of a reoccurring. I wouldn't say like daily thing, but close. Um, and so I just really didn't feel safe in her class, and I just really didn't enjoy being in the class. And if you don't really enjoy being in a class or feeling safe, you're just not going to learn as much because you're not going to like it. And if you don't like the class, then why should you be there? Um, but thankfully that was only 1 year that I had to take that certain math, and I got to move on, which is great. I didn't fail or anything. Thank heavens. But it's the worst thing if you have a bad teacher, because if you have a bad teacher, you're not going to have a good year. Especially when you get into that period. All have different periods during the day. If you're um, in a certain period, you're gonna loathe going to that period, and especially if you have it your first period or your last period, it's just not a good way to end or start the day. And um, I had that math period the first period of my day. So, it was kind of like, okay, I'm going to go to school, and then I'm going to go to the worst class, in my opinion. And, I'm not going to enjoy it, but, maybe afterwards, school's going to be great. And it really was. But in that year, that situation, I guess, it was just really hard because you just don't want to be there. You don't want to be in that environment. Um, and I don't know if it was because of like something at home or maybe she didn't like her job as much, or maybe, there were some other kids who just, just got her mad or aggravated at some point. Um, but I feel like that's not, those aren't really good reasons. Those aren't viable reasons to treat your children different during the day, if you get what I'm saying. It's just not something that should affect your job, your occupation. I kind of hold my teachers to a higher standard. I expect them to, if whatever's happening outside of their life, outside of their school time, or even in their school time, as long as it's not like in my, certain period or something, I expect them to not, take out those negative feelings during the class, like maybe if she had, some positive things happening on in her other parts of her life, that'd be great, share that with me. Um, as much as possible during your class. I want you to be happy. I want you to enjoy things. I want us both to enjoy the class. But if you have something negative, you know, I just don't want that to be translated during our class time. Um, and I've had other teachers that were like that. I've had, maybe strict teachers or, whatever, and that's fine. Strict's okay as long as you're not, you know, you don't make the children feel like they shouldn't be there for some reason, or if like just don't make them. Need to make them feel safe, welcome, I guess. Um, and it's okay to have rules and regulations, and that's how you have order in the classroom. That's how teaching would work. You can't have teaching without order. Otherwise, people would be bouncing off the walls, and you'd be just trying to get them to calm down and look at their pages and read the PowerPoints or whatever, and just listen to what you're trying to say. So rules are great, but when they become too stringent, too I wouldn't say encroaching on our rights, but just too constricting, I guess. I don't. That's just not a good, conducive environment to learning. Um, and so, rules are just a great thing to have, but if they're just too much, then that's not a good thing. Um, and my schools, um, my school, luckily, it's not as strict as maybe I go to public school, so private schools, they can have whatever regulations they want. They're not hindered too much by government regulation. But in public schools, you have um, certain things that you must abide by, and the schools must abide by, and things that they can't prohibit, I guess. Like I have some friends, especially my private school friends at different schools, and in some situations they can't wear certain things that they want because the school mandates that you can't. That it says that you can't. And I think that's there should be there should be a school code, but I feel like you shouldn't inhibit freedom of expression. In a this is in a certain to a certain extent. I agree that there shouldn't be like drugs, gang paraphernalia, like anything with that, I think that's something that, shouldn't be allowed in schools because it just may be a bad influence. And of course you can wear this stuff, just out of school when you want to, which is great. You do you, and I'll do me. That's a saying we have: you do you, I'll do me. Um, and that's great. But when there's just some things that are just too regulatory and too I can't think of a better word except for encroaching upon, things that kids want to do because, they're kids are just they haven't made it to adulthood yet. Yeah, um, which is great. It has its goods and its bads. Its positives and its negatives, but um, just at this point, they should be able to do what they feel like until maybe when they get older. They don't even have jobs yet. I mean, I guess you could call being a student a job, but they don't have any um, formal bosses. They don't have any, papers they have to sign, like any binding contracts. I guess you may do that for schools in some schools, but um, that's just really not something that happens in a different schools, I guess. Sorry if that was a little too dark. I just moved it, I guess. I don't really know how this works too much yet. Um, but what was I saying? But yeah, I feel like rules are great up until the point that they're too much. You can have there is a too much of rules, uh, because that's when you just don't really have as much fun anymore. And some of these kids may not be able to do. They may have a stricter home life than they would at school, and sometimes they just need a way to express themselves, and I think that's a good thing. I think school's a great medium for that. Um, Granted, you have to have some you know some restrictions, I guess, for lack of a better word. But I think school is a good way to do that because these kids they're gonna grow up sometime. I'm thinking about like my elementary school years where I knew nothing. It was a different time for me. Um, there were just some things that I just hadn't been exposed to yet. I just didn't know, I guess, perfectly. Um, but they just need to have some kind of, you know, output, I guess, of things. And I think that's something that every child should have is a way to express themselves, especially in any way that they choose, as long as it's not hurting other people. Um, that's where I would draw the line. Where if anybody's getting hurt, then there's something wrong. Um, but just back to teachers. I think teachers. I don't want to do this like a call for action, but um, I think that teachers should they should enjoy their job. Otherwise, just choose a different job. There's a lot of jobs out there um, with different qualifications. Say you got your degree in education or whatever. There's different things you can do. Um, Different ways of teaching. There's public school, private school. Tutoring. There's just a lot of different things you can do. Um, but if you don't like your job, then why are you there in the first place? This is I forgot who said this, but basically it's um, your job is only a job if you make it a job. Otherwise, it's it's kind of a fun thing. It's kind of like a habit, a hobby. You know, I feel like teaching should be more of a hobby for teachers. This should be something that they enjoy doing. They enjoy going to you know school. They enjoy seeing the kids. They enjoy making a difference in the kids' lives, and that's awesome. That's why you should be a teacher. If you have those certain ideas, and teaching would be a great pathway for you. But the other teachers that don't have those certain things, maybe teaching's not for them. And it could be, but it's just, I feel like the psychology of a teacher has to be different, with every other job. You just, um, I feel like your psychology and your beliefs and your values should um, kind of lead you in the direction of where you'd want to go for your occupation. Because you don't want to do something for the rest of your life that you're just going to hate. If it's torture for you, then you need to find something else. And that's okay. You may not know what you want to do. I mean, you know, I have a pretty good idea of what I want to do, but I don't know for sure how my life's going to plan out. I don't think anyone does. Um, but it's just for you to learn as you go. I feel like, and that may take you quicker, a shorter time or a longer time than other people will. Um, but it's just something that you learn, I guess, which kind of brings me back to teaching. But um, I'm just really thankful that I had some really good teachers in my schooling. Um, I got put into my parents, they found a really nice place in um, this country, this state, that has a really good education system, um, which I know it may be worse in other parts of the country or state. Um, and I hope for the betterment of certain, you know, certain areas. I don't know if that would be through the government or whatever, but I wish that everyone would have, the equal and like same education. And I know that's what they're trying to do, and that's what the government's hoping to do. But let's be real, that doesn't happen. Not every school is just as good as the other, and that's why there's like these little lists, these charts of like number one school in America or whatever, number 4 or 5 or 280 billion or I don't know. There's a lot of schools in America, I'm sure. But in other countries too. I wish everyone would just have the same level of education, but that's kind of idealistic. It can happen for sure. Um, I just don't know how much that would take out of the treasury or whatever means. Um, but yeah, I just wanted to talk about teachers today, and I guess I kind of sidetracked into schooling in general and a little philosophy, I guess, and existentialism. But yeah, I hope you guys like this. I just really wanted to talk about teachers today because I don't know, teachers are such a big part of my life. Um, just because I live in a country where you have to go to school for a certain period of time, and just education is really important. So getting a good one is something that will help you farther on in life, especially in many ways. Um, you know, I just hope that everyone has an equal opportunity and equal chance to be able to learn things that they'd like to learn, um, in life. And I hope that they have fun while doing it, because if you don't have fun, then I just believe you shouldn't be doing whatever you're doing. Um, so, yeah, I hope you guys have a great day. Um, if anyone's watching during school, I hope you have good teachers too. Um, I guess for the older people, I hope you had good teachers. You may or may not have. Um, but I wish the best for all y'all, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Okay, bye.